full of conventional Hollywood cliches and recurring lackluster sequels. One critic has seen it all, who can provide you with all the movie news, opinions, and reviews that could very well save humanity as we know it. This is Libby's Movie Hunt. And now, your host, Libby Hunt.
Hi, welcome to Libby Hunt. I'm your host, Libby Hunt, along with my co-host, Kevin E.
Hello. How are you?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.
And can you believe there's snow outside?
I know, it's like Christmas is over, but now it actually kind of feels Christmassy outside. It's a bummer.
It's such typical Texas weather. We were saying next week it's supposed to be 78. Who knows?
Yeah, it'll be in the 80s. I'll be able to go to the pool next week.
Isn't that funny? But you've been in the studio all day and you didn't even realize there was snow outside.
I know. I periodically went out and checked, and there just wasn't anything going on. And then when I came out to let you in, it was like Winter Wonderland.
I know. It's a one. What's the movie we loved? White Christmas.
Yes,
that I love. We were talking right before break. But I hope everybody had a great holiday season and Happy New Year. And we're back to talk about movies. This is my favorite time of year, isn't it yours?
Oh yeah, coming up on Oscars.
Well, so many movies came out right around Christmas, and then I looked. There's really nothing new starting like this week. I mean, there
wasn't anything that really caught my attention that I'm like, ooh, I have to get out and see that. So.
Silence starts next Friday, and I did go to a screening about that, so I'll talk about that next Friday. Martin Scorsese's new film.
Oh, okay.
But today we have a lot to talk about. We have 4 films we're going to talk about. Hidden Figures, Moonlight.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Moonlight.
Fences, and Passengers.
Passengers.
And
the one that I went and saw.
That you saw.
Yes.
And do you have a top 10 list? You may be thinking about that, because I want to talk about my top 10 for 2016.
I do, and mine is very similar to yours, but there's just a few that I would swap out.
I know. A couple of mine, mine aren't all, Oscar worthy or what probably the critics will pick.
Either.
They're what I love.
Yeah, like I put Green Room on my list.
Green Room. Who was in that?
It had.
Wait a minute. I see everything. How do I not know about that?
It was a low budget horror film. Maybe Star Trek Beyond was, but it was one of Anton Yelchin's last films.
Green Room. I missed it, Kevin.
Yep, and it all takes place in like a backstage green room, but it's a horror movie. It's really cool. You should definitely check that out.
Wait, it came to the theaters?
It was in limited release. I don't think it ever came out.
You stumped me.
I don't think you could ever see one at the Cineplex. I know. I can't believe you didn't see that.
It.
It has Anton Yelchin in it, and for the most part, a lot of no names. But it basically is a rock band is forced to fight for survival after seeing a murder backstage at a neo-Nazi bar. Basically, it's a very odd.
That sounds good.
Plot, but it was an intense horror movie. If you like Don't Breathe, it's not the same kind of, but still, it's a clever horror movie in the same sense.
That was in my top 10 you saw.
Yes, Don't Breathe is in my top 10 as well.
Okay, good. I know a friend of mine that's a movie critic too was surprised. He said, I'm surprised by that, but it was secretly good. I thought that was funny.
We had the same number one.
Yes, of course.
Hell or High Water is my number one. Yeah.
Number one. Yes, fabulous. Okay, well let's start with Hidden Figures. It got 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now I'm kind of obsessed with the Rotten Tomatoes thing since introduced me to it, because I like to see if I match up.
It's hard not to check it, and most of the time you match up.
Okay, so it's directed by Theodore Melfi, who I Googled him, and he hasn't done anything I know about. But this movie is a true story of a trio of African-American women in I believe it was it 61, I believe.
Early 60s.
Yeah, or I think it was I wrote down the date, but...
And as far as the director Ted Melfi, hadn't heard of anything he'd ever done.
I know.
He's only done a handful of movies, and they were all, I think, real small, low budget type flicks.
But this is like
this is
mainstream, fabulous, Oscar worthy. It is so good. It stars Octavia Spencer, Janelle Monáe, and then you and I couldn't think the main character, Katherine Johnson, is Taraji Henson.
I'm trying to figure it out myself, and it's one of those names I don't know.
But I believe she will be nominated. This girl, she's so good, and she hasn't been in a lot of things either.
Oh, sorry, your props are falling over.
My props are falling over.
They're not as anchored down as well as I'd like them. So
also, Kirsten Dunst is in it, and Kevin Costner. And the guy who stars in Moonlight. But Kevin Costner's fantastic in it. And Kirsten Dunst plays a very unlikable character in it, which was kind of surprising for her. But it's the story, it's about 3 African-American women that are just brainiacs working at NASA. And they're behind the greatest operation in history, the launch of John Glenn into space. And the astronaut John Glenn into orbit. and it turned around the space race for us. In the trio, they crossed gender and race, and they inspired generations to dream big. I mean, it really is an inspiring movie. A lot of the things in it are cringeworthy as far as, African Americans at NASA at that time having to use the
racism,
all white, all black restroom. And Kevin Costner, at one point, everybody cheers in the audience, knocks down the all black restroom sign. So some things changed at NASA during that time but this is kind of an untold story I'd never heard. Had you?
No, I had not heard of it. But just from the trailers, I was definitely intrigued. But where did you go to see this one? It's not This is not wide release yet.
Well, it was funny because it came out last week at North Park. I was on New Year's Day. I went, or the day after, and it was packed. I think it was just only playing at North Park, and the audience was totally full. And I love it sometimes seeing films like that with a full audience because everybody was cheering, and crying, and it was fun to see with the big audience clapping. So I highly recommend it. I would say popcorn to Oscar worthy for sure. I think there'll be a nomination for the main character, the girl that plays Katherine Johnson.
I believe this and A Monster Calls are really the only movies opening this weekend that a lot of people have heard
and
of.
Silent. Oh yeah, you're right. This weekend.
Yeah, and then there's just a bunch of stuff that I'm not even familiar with. But nothing that got particularly good reviews. Of course, the new Underworld sequel. I gave up on Underworld a long time ago.
I did too.
Just completely.
That and Resident Evil, both of those, I'm not a big fan of.
I mean,
they go on and on.
They do, and I enjoyed the campiness at first, and I was like, okay, maybe I can deal with this for one or two films. But after a while, it's like, no, just let it go.
I agree.
So yeah, I don't think there'll be people flocking to see Underworld, even though it does have Kate Beckinsale back in it because they did. Once they replaced hers, when I was like, all right, I'm not watching it anymore. And then Railroad Tigers, which I had not heard of. I'm not even sure what that is, but it only got a 33% on Rotten, so I don't think it's going to cause a lot of buzz.
No, but yeah, so the Hidden Figures should do that well this weekend.
Yeah.
But so yeah, go see it. I think you'd like it. Since you like space stuff. I mean,
I do.
It's not a sci-fi.
I love historical space stuff. I'm really into that.
Space stuff. I knew you would. Okay, well, what should we do? One also what you've seen, or should I go on and talk about another one?
That's up to you. We can talk about Passengers if you want.
Let's do it.
All right.
Passengers, because Kevin's seen it. Tell me what you thought. Okay, it only got 30% Rotten Tomatoes.
It did, and I don't want to give away quite yet what my score would be for this film, but I thought it started off good. I was very interested. The chemistry between Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence is very good. There was really good on-screen chemistry, and as the film progresses and things start to go wrong, as they typically do in these type of space adventures, there are some intense scenes, but it feels overly long and ultimately overly confusing, and in the end, ultimately unnecessary. I just wasn't really that invested in it. I'm gonna go ahead and give it half popped. I would say I somewhat agree with the score that they gave it on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's one that I really wanted to like because I thought the trailers were cool, and there are some intense scenes.
Tell our audience the premise. Basically, it's they're on a spaceship.
They're basically on a spaceship that's on a very long journey.
120-year journey.
Yes, but these two people are woken up early.
Right.
They're in some sort of a stasis.
And something happens there
cryosleep.
interesting. We won't spoil it, but something. Aurora is awakened, which I thought her name, Aurora being her name, a little cheesy take on Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, no, that's true. I didn't even think about that. There are almost some elements in it. I wouldn't by any means call it a horror space sci-fi film, but there are some elements that reminded me of the film Event Horizon, if you ever saw that.
What was it called?
Event Horizon. It had
Again, I haven't
Sam
seen
Neill
that,
in it.
Kevin.
Yeah, well, it's an older one. It came out in the 90s. But yeah, they're woken early, and things are starting to go wrong on the ship. My favorite scene, honestly, which was one that they had in the trailers, I'm bummed that they ruined it almost, is the swimming pool scene.
Loved that scene.
That was incredibly intense.
Really cool.
That's one of the parts that I give the film, kudos for. I'm like, okay, that was good intensity.
It was filmed so cool. I was like, how did they do that?
It looked really realistic.
And again, the director, Morton Tyldum, he did The Imitation Game, but he hasn't really done anything else. And this is such a departure from...
Yeah, nothing like the other. Yeah, exactly.
But he hadn't done much else that I knew about.
Yep.
Also, Lawrence Fishburne's in it. He's in everything, kind of like Samuel L. Jackson.
Yep.
Okay, did you think it was so weird at the end?
It's funny, Lawrence Fishburne is also in Event Horizon.
Oh, how funny. I think he and Samuel L. Jackson are just everywhere. They're kind of like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, you know? I thought it was so strange, though, at the very last minute of the film, Andy Garcia shows up.
Yeah, that's.
What?
I mean, the plot overall was just very, very flawed, and I felt like it could have been much more cohesive and maybe come out to something that was actually interesting.
Did you love Michael Sheen in it though? The robot, the bartender
Oh,
robot.
yeah. He
Loved
was cool.
him. He's good in everything.
He's definitely good in everything. It reminded me in a lot of ways of God, I can't think of the character's name. I want to say it's Lloyd, the bartender in The Shining.
Yes, it
It
reminded
almost
me.
felt like a callback to that.
It did. It had that feel.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. That's so funny.
And it's funny because neither one of them were real.
Right.
So I
thought that was interesting.
think that was an intentional parallel by the director, but that's one that I really liked. I thought that was a cool little twist on it. But there are many twists, but they're just not good twists.
Okay, see,
And I don't want to give too much away for people who still might want to check it out, but
Well, see, I was one of those. I don't love science fiction films. Wasn't dying to see it at all. My daughter was, so I went with her. I had like some screening tickets to it, and I really thought it was popcorn worthy.
really?
Yes. Now, I have to agree with you. I think there are some flaws. I think it disconnects somewhere. And this is one thing that kept getting me. Chris Pratt's not one of my favorite. I love Jennifer Lawrence. I'm a huge fan of her. And they did have chemistry, but he's almost kind of cheesy and corny.
I think he's definitely had some of that.
Like there's a corniness to the film that didn't need to be there. Like I thought the film could have been more serious, like that swimming pool scene or some of the really serious scenes. And then there's this kind of banter between the two of them that is, or himself, that's corny.
I agree.
Do you get that?
No, I thought so too. It almost reminded me of. I'm sorry, this is really bothering me. I can't get my split screen
Get us
cam.
right.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we're both on it. There we go. There was a campiness to his character, similar,
Campiness.
almost like to Jurassic World.
Exactly.
But that's meant to be a movie that's sort of popcorn and kitty and campy and just over the top. And
Star Trek-y.
Yeah, he definitely brought some of that cheesiness to.
And I
to
didn't
the
think. I thought if they'd had someone else, it just wouldn't have had that campiness to it. I can't explain it. If I could yank that little part of it out, otherwise I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I mean, I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, aren't you surprised?
But I mean, I think you were probably expecting less than I was.
Exactly.
Not being the sci-fi fan.
We have a theory about that too. If you're expecting less, so I give it popcorn worthy.
Popcorn worthy, and I'm going half pop. So
Okay.
we disagree.
We disagreed.
All right.
We're a real Siskel and Ebert today.
And for once, Rotten agrees with me.
I know.
Although they did also agree with me on Collateral Beauty. So
I know. Okay, but back to Andy Garcia. Why do you think he did that? Do you think part of his scene was on the cutting room floor? Or, I mean, how much did they pay him to show up and say one word?
I wonder if they'd even planned to put that stuff in there, put that in at all, or like if it was an afterthought, or maybe they said just in case we'll put. I don't know.
But
I don't understand.
If you start thinking about the movie, it was kind of thought-provoking. Like, at the end, what happens on the ship and what happens in the future. I like movies that make me think. It made me. It was thought-provoking.
It makes me think, but maybe I just don't get it.
Yeah. It was,
What the overall outcome was
okay,
supposed to be.
speaking of not getting stuff, I went back to see Arrival a second time. Remember how I did not? Did you ever see Arrival, the
No.
science fiction? I did not get it at all the first time. I literally, my dad and I said, we woke up in the middle of the night going, we don't understand. I went back to see it a second time. Everybody out there, give it another shot. I totally get it now.
That's exactly why I didn't want to see it, because I didn't want to walk away confused.
You will get it if you see it twice. I totally get it now.
But now you're saying you have to see it twice.
You
It's one of those movies.
Yeah, you do. It's a must. I totally get it. Okay.
I think Contact is that same way.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I never liked Contact as much as I like Arrival. This is a mixture of Contact and maybe Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Arrival is. But I think it might get some nominations. It's an interesting, beautiful film. So
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be
go.
surprised.
I
it got
think
some
it's still playing
nominations,
at
but
maybe like one theater. Since you're a sci-fi guy, you got to get out
It's
there
true.
and see it.
It's not too sci-fi, so because it takes place in present day. Which,
Right.
well, I mean, I like District 9. That's supposed to be kind of
You'd
present
like
day too.
it.
But I mean, Passengers to me almost felt like a combination of Prometheus with minus alien stuff. Prometheus with Gravity,
Exactly, a little bit.
and both those movies I like better. I thought were more
But with,
entertaining.
like you said, like I said, some corny, campy stuff that needed to go.
yeah,
So
yeah. It needed to be more serious. I think it was intended to be more serious. But still, I thought that those two were good together.
I bet it's doing pretty good at the box office. So anything Jennifer Lawrence does.
I mean, it's so hard to be a science fiction film at the box office up against Star Wars.
Oh, that's true. I know. Someone said Rogue One really has pushed a lot of the movie I'm so looking forward to is same kind of different as me. The Dallas author Ron Hall, who wrote it, true story. about he and his life with this homeless guy, Denver Moore. I heard it got pushed back to February because Rogue One is being so popular. Isn't that interesting?
It is. You got to be pretty
something.
bold to go up against for any film to go up against Star Wars because it doesn't. No matter where in the world you are, it's going to be huge. So you're telling me you still haven't seen Rogue One?
No, I did see it.
Oh, okay.
I did. I liked it. Remember,
Okay.
I was popcorn worthy, but I don't understand those Star Wars movies. But what I loved about that one is you didn't have to really know about Star Wars movies because this one stands on its own.
It really does,
So-
and that's what I mean. It's the most, I think, the best made Star Wars film there is, but it's not the best Star Wars film because everybody wants those classic characters, and of course you do still have your Darth Vader and your Grand Moff Tarkin, Prince. I'm sounding like a nerd right now, Princess Leia thing, but it didn't even have the opening crawl at the beginning, which is like the most iconic part of any Star Wars film. I think they completely cut that out, so it really does stand on its own as almost a spy/war film rather than a sci-fi Star Wars fantasy film.
That's true. I thought it was so cute that you and your girlfriend went with your Star Wars T-shirts, and she had the Princess Leia.
That's a
buns.
tradition. We're going to do that every year because Disney promises a new Star Wars movie every year for the next 5 years.
Oh,
so.
you have to do it.
Yeah, I will definitely do it.
Have I been on the show since Carrie Fisher passed away? I guess not.
No.
And Debbie Reynolds, wasn't that sad?
It was very sad.
Oh my gosh, I loved her. She wrote this book. Well, she's written a lot of books and a lot of screenplays. Wishful Drinking that you must read. It's hilarious. She's
People keep telling me how great this book is.
so funny. And all her books, Postcards from the Edge. I mean, she's just. I'm really gonna. She reminds me a little bit of Nora Ephron. Just really funny. Okay, we probably need to move along. On to our next. But I'm sorry for. I bet Debbie. Wait, I don't want to jump off
Oh,
that.
you don't want to cut short.
Carrie
of it.
Fisher and Debbie Reynolds. Her mother died of broken heart. I think.
I think so.
Isn't that sad?
I mean, it's very rare that something like that happens. They're within what? I mean,
Days.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Like
sad.
36 hours. It was
know.
insane.
And I had just read Debbie Reynolds' memoir last year. I can't remember maybe Unsinkable something, but was the name of it. But I love them. They're cute,
Yes.
old Hollywood, and their daughter, Billie Lourd, Carrie Fisher's daughter, is an actress that's going to be in some stuff. So I look forward to seeing that.
And I hate to be morbid, but I know a lot of people out there feels the same way as I did. I mean, we love Carrie Fisher. It's such a bummer that she's gone because she's so iconic to the science fiction fans. But it is almost somewhat of a relief that filming had wrapped for episode 8 before she passed. So it's like she does have one last full movie in that character before she passed away.
You know what? You'd get it since you're a Star Wars fan. You need to Google. It's on YouTube. Carrie Fisher roasting George Lucas.
Oh, I love that.
And it's at some awards thing and how he ruined her life. It's really funny. You will die laughing. It'll show her wit.
We might need to share that from the Libby's Movie Hunt page just so
Yeah.
people can see it.
You should Google it. It's really cute. We'll put it up there. Okay, let's move on to a more serious film, which I had no desire to go see, and a movie critic friend of mine just raved about it. It's in his top 10, and it's in my top 11 or 12. I may even have to move it to top 10, called Moonlight. And it's a small independent film directed by Barry Jenkins. And basically, it's about this homosexual Black or African-American child that's bullied, in his neighborhood in Miami, sells drugs to support his family. And it's a 3-part narrative. And it spans childhood, adolescence, and adulthood of this kid. And it's like I said, it's 3 parts. It's artistic, it's realistic. I mean, it's the perfect screenplay, I think. I mean, I am blown away by this film because that plot doesn't sound very. I mean, that sounds like, oh gosh, I've seen this before, or like, oh, drug dealer.
Right, but no,
Kid.
I love these kinds of stories. And reading about it, it seems like it's mostly no-name actors.
No, the main character, again, he also is in Hidden Figures. I can't say his name. And his last name's Alley, and I think he stole the show, and he plays the father figure and a drug dealer who, he's not the main character, but he's the father figure that kind of helps raise this young boy through 2 of these stages, and then something happens. But I mean, the cinematography, the score, it's just fantastic. It is, and someone asked me about it the other day, and they're like, it just doesn't sound that great, but I want to go see it. And I said, all I can say is it's sweet. Now, how can you say that about a African-American drug dealer in Miami, a kid that's being bullied? But there's something so sweet and beautiful about it.
So what's your...
it is Oscar worthy.
Okay, well, you know... Rotten Tomatoes definitely agrees with you on that one. It 98%. So it has to be an Oscar contender.
Yeah.
Definitely from what you're telling me for screenplay.
I mean, the there's the boy. It's in 3 parts, separate parts. The young boy, the adolescent boy, well, maybe 4: child, middle school, high school, and adulthood. And the 4 actors that play this person are great. And then the guy that plays the father figure, and then the woman that plays the mother. I mean, they may all be nominated. I think you'll love it.
It sounds like something I would like. The plot reminds me of a film that came out a very long time ago, which also had a bunch of no-name actors in it, with a somewhat similar plot called Sweet Nothing. And it was about basically a diary that was found of the life of a guy who was young and successful and fell into crack addiction. But it also starred no names at the time. It had Michael Imperioli was the main character, who went on to be Christopher on The Sopranos, who ended up being had a prominent
I saw that.
film and TV career. And I thought that was really good. And this sounds like something along those lines.
But that one didn't get as much critical acclaim. This one,
very, very true. Yeah, it's one that's nobody really knows about it.
But this is what for a person that sees everything, this is so different. Like I can't explain it. You got to go see it. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I will definitely check that one out.
Don't you like it when a movie surprises you?
Oh, yeah, of course.
We're never surprised anymore.
No, that's true. Well, I mean, speaking of surprise, I was surprised by Hell or High Water. I was expecting a much more slow-moving, almost like a No Country for Old Men type vibe to it, but it didn't have that at all.
It was funny.
Its pacing is like nonstop. It's funny, and from the very beginning, I mean, it opens with an adrenaline-packed bank heist, and then just never stops from there. That adrenaline ride just keeps going all the way to the end.
And that movie came out a while ago, and I knew then it was going to be my best picture of the year, and it has continued to stay best picture all year long for me.
I had a feeling, too, just from the trailers, and I'm like, I'm going to love this movie.
Nothing's ever changed. I can't wait for the director's next movie. He did Sicario, too, last year. He did this, and he has one in 2017, and I need to look up the name of it, but it looks great. Okay, so we'll move on to, because we probably only have like 5 minutes. Okay, Fences, directed by Denzel Washington. And it stars he and Viola Davis, and it is based on the play by August Wilson. And Denzel Washington and Viola Davis made it famous on Broadway when it was brought back to Broadway, and they both won Tony Awards for their portrayals.
Which, before you told me, I had no idea that Denzel Washington had ever done anything on Broadway.
Oh, you hadn't? And he also, I think, didn't he do, not Grapes of Wrath, or he did something else on Broadway.
Totally had no idea.
Mm-hmm. He's won a couple of Tony, or he's been, I don't know if he's won a couple of Tony Awards. I shouldn't say that without checking for sure.
But he's been on the stage a lot more than I realized.
Right. He and Viola Davis are just, and they both will be nominated. This movie got 95% Rotten Tomatoes, and here's the deal. It is based on a play, and it feels like a play. So is that what you want in a movie? I mean, like,
you want the movie to bring something different to the. You want it to have a cinematic feel rather than a stage production feel.
It feels like it all takes place in their home in Pittsburgh in it's 1950s, and Denzel Washington is a sanitation worker, and he has been discouraged because he was a great baseball player, and he got too old before they started letting blacks play baseball, so he didn't get to play. And he has a son with Viola Davis, and he doesn't let his son be recruited to play football because he causes tension with his son because he's, so upset that he didn't get to play baseball. But the dialogue is, I love a movie with good, smart dialogue. Like, there's the first 30 minutes, it's just nonstop dialogue. It's fantastic. But it takes place, the only action is him on the sanitation truck at the very beginning of the film. Otherwise, it's in his home, and that's about it.
It almost seems like during the transitions that they could have just changed sets.
Yeah.
As if you're sitting in an audience.
So it's like you're at a play. So I don't think everybody will love it. I mean, I give it popcorn worthy. I enjoyed it, but mildly popcorn worthy for me.
From what you're telling me, it sounds like they brought it to the big screen with minimal effort to give it a cinematic, feel, to differentiate it as a movie rather than a play.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it's not still well written, well acted, well performed, all that stuff. But it feels like a play.
All that. It could have been, if I had been the director in it, I would have, like you said, thrown in a little more, changed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it'll get anything except they both will be nominated for Best Actor and Actress or Supporting Actress. I think probably main actress. So I don't know.
How would you compare it? I mean, I guess it's a little bit different because one's a play and one's a musical, but did you kind of feel that same way about Chicago back when it came out?
No, because musicals kind of move faster.
That's true.
So they move. This one, you're just like, come on, let's. But I was, of course, riveted because I loved the dialogue. There's great dialogue. But I don't know, unless you want to see a play, really. It's kind of like one time did you ever see Anna Karenina with Keira Knightley on,
No.
well, basically it was about beautiful costumes. It felt like the play, Anna. It didn't feel like a movie. So that same kind of thing.
Yeah, you want it to feel like a movie.
Okay, that's my movies. Okay, let's talk about, because we have like a few
We
minutes.
got like a minute left.
Huh? We have a minute. Oh, top 10. Okay.
Oh, yeah, the top 10.
Top 10. Mine are Hell or High Water, Nocturnal Animals, La La Land, Hacksaw Ridge, Lion, Hidden Figures, Don't Breathe, The Girl on the Train, The Innocents, Sully. And if I had 11 and 12, I'd do Manchester by the Sea and Moonlight. But I may have to move Moonlight up on my list and move maybe.
Oh, you might just shuffle some things around in recent events.
But that's my list. What do you? Your top one is Hell or High
Mine are
Water.
the same, except I have 3 that I want to swap out from yours that I like to different. I'm going to put The Nice Guys in there with Ryan Gosling and
yes.
Russell Crowe. I loved that. I would put Green Room in there.
Which I hadn't seen.
And then one just based off pure entertainment because I enjoyed it so much, I'm going to throw Magnificent Seven in there.
Okay.
Which I know isn't, a big Oscar contender, but it's a movie I really liked.
Because it was a remake of the Yul Brynner.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of the original.
Well, see, you know what I almost threw in there is Ghostbusters.
Oh, you almost
loved it.
Oh. See, I still refuse to see it.
But see, our top 10 lists they're not what all the critics would love, but they're what we love.
Yes, and Hell or High Water is number 1. It's my number 1 vote for what I want to win Best Picture this year.
Right. I know it should. So go to Libby's Movie Hunt, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube to find out all the scoop.
And I'll go ahead and post my top 10 as well if you'd like.
Post it, and we'll post it on my blog too, libbysmoviehunt.com.
Sounds good.
So we're good? Okay. Thanks for tuning in, and y'all now go enjoy the movies.